You took it too far. You needed attention that bad. You couldn't just let it go to collections. It had to get charged off. The charge off on your credit, don't do that. Okay, so a charge off. 9 out of 10 people have a charge off on their credit files, on their credit oh my God, don't use that. I hate saying file, profile. I'll just say files, because to me when I'm working, do you have that file? Do you have that file? Do you have that file? But for the people, but understanding a charge off can affect your score 50 to 150 points each. And remember, they stay on there for 7 years from the date of last activity, not the date opened. Okay, so a charge off in simple terms is basically an accounting term that the original creditor will use when they write off the debt on their taxes. I would say on average about anywhere from 90 to 180 days, they will count it as a loss. They're not going to be able to recoup this money from you. So they will send it to collections and they will write it off on their taxes. And that's when it becomes a charge off, is when they write it off on their taxes. And that's where these idiots online will say the debt doesn't belong to you because they sold it. No, it's still yours. They just wrote it off on their taxes. To take it a step further, it'll either remain as a collection, and that's when they'll start calling you and hounding you. They will chase you around like the cameraman on Maury. You are not. Now, the original creditor, depending on who the creditor is and the amount of the debt, they can either just send it to collections and wash their hands of it, or this is where they will either charge it off and then it will stay as a charge off. Take it a step further. This is where now they can sue you. And now you're going to get a summons in the mail from the original creditor with all the information on there, summons you to go to court, because even though they wrote it off, they still want their money. Regardless of if it's in the collection's hands or not, the original creditor is now going to sue you. And if you get sued, I am not a financial advisor, I am not legal counsel, but this is where you need to retain your own legal counsel. They're banking on you not even showing up to the court date, and they will just get an automatic judgment in their favor. That's kind of like the path of a charge off. If they get a judgment against you, that's when they can start garnishing your paychecks and your taxes. And it might not happen for a year or two after the fact. You might think you're in the clear, then all of a sudden your taxes are offset. Offset. Sorry. I don't know how y'all put up with me. And you might think you're in the clear, but a year later, 2 years later, you might see now that your employer got letters in the mail to now garnish some of your paycheck. You get excited for tax season, you do all your taxes, you pay, you're getting excited to get your amount back, you get approved for amount back, and then you're waiting weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, waiting for the money to come, get deposited in your account. Then all of a sudden, you see that your name is on the list to have your taxes garnished and offset because you owe a creditor from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? So this is why charge-offs are so crucial and critical to credit profiles, and it's important to get them removed. If you do get a summons in the mail, the best thing to do is you can avoid court. You just have to call them and make some type of arrangements and pay them. They want their money. As much as you don't want to pay them, they want their money, and they will settle with you for pennies on the dollar, especially if you tell them you're in a hardship. Just tell them you're in a hardship, and they will work with you and compromise something with you depending on the totality of the debt and the original creditor themselves. Some are harder to work with than others, but mostly all they care about is they just want their money. And then you can work on having it removed from your credit profile. But again, yeah, I'm not legal counsel, so if you do get a summons in the mail, you should go to court. If you want to avoid court, then just call the original creditor, make some arrangements, and just pay them, and then you won't have to deal with court at all. Yeah, charge-offs are a pain in the ass. The extreme is if you get summons, right? A lot of us, luckily, we don't get summons, but they can, depending on the original creditor. If they want to take it that far, chances are, if they're going to charge it off, chances are the amount of debt, they're probably going to come after you too. I would say anything above a couple $100. And like to us, we're like, really? You're going to do all that for a couple $100? And then sometimes it's and interest. So yeah, like depending on the original creditor, they will sue you. I've seen people sued for $88. 88 fucking dollars. I've seen people get a summons to go to court for $88. But we're so stubborn and whatever, like that we don't want to pay them. We don't want to pay them. It's affecting our credit, so we're angry. We're like, fuck them. When I was graduating high school, at that time, I had the year prior car. So it was a new car. And I wasn't paying it. And I remember at least 2 or 3 times I walked my happy, I woke up, got ready, took my time, right? Was getting ready to go to work, was getting ready to just go to the store, whatever. And I walked my happy ass outside. Car was not in the driveway. At least 2 times I can think of that. And it sucks because you're like, where's my car? And you know deep down it probably is repoed. So you like call like the non-emergency police and they're like, hold on. And they tell you where it is. And it got fucking repoed. And now if you don't go get it, they're charging you by the day to get your car. So a lot of that builds up and then you're like, I'm not. Or if you have a credit card and you max it out and you have the PlayStation and the games and the Xbox, you have the stuff from Victoria's Secret. Like you're like, fuck that. I'm not paying this. I already have the stuff. Or I outgrew the stuff. Or I sold the stuff. Or I broke the stuff, right? You don't want to even pay it. Why? I'm not benefiting from this anymore. No, you're not. But your credit is fucking tanking because of this every month. That's why. Think about that, you know? But yeah, a lot of us don't want to pay it back. We don't feel like we should. A lot of us, unfortunately, too, thanks to society, no fault of our own, we can't afford to pay it back. We can't. And a lot of people, including me, will get in a car that we can't afford. We just want it because of the logo on it, right? Or we'll get credit cards because we either have to depend on them or we don't necessarily understand them. Or we get a house because we want a house. We might not be ready for a house. But I also advocate for that there is good debt and being responsible with your debt. And if you have, like I said, if you are irresponsible when it comes to spending or you need a little bit more self-discipline with that, like be honest with yourself and do that. But you can absolutely ruin your life because of debt, or you can be the first motherfucker in your bloodline and change generational curses and wealth. Let me tell them they're all beating each other. Charge-offs are like scary too, like that word, like on a charge-off on your credit profile is scary. Lenders don't want to see charge-off. They're like, really? You took it too far. You needed attention that bad. You couldn't just let it go to collections. It had to get charged off. And now they're going to be like, did you go to court? Are they garnishing your wages? Are they offsetting your tax return? Did you handle this? Like the charge-off on your credit? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But if you're one of the unfortunate ones that have a charge-off on your credit profile, yes, you should dispute it. No, paying it outright is not going to get it removed. Paying it outright without getting it verified is going to do one or two things. It's going to update the status to paid. It's still going to say charge off, but it's going to say, yep, you eventually finally fucking paid. Big whoop. And now you just reset the statute of limitations. So now in 7 years, it's going to fall off. Good job for paying it. You just reset the statute of limitations. So it's going to sit on your credit file for now 7 more years saying charge off, charge off, charge off. But it's not going to have any future activity associated with the account because you paid it. It's closed. But it's still going to report charge off, charge off, charge off, charge off, charge off for the next 7 years. You paid it. So you plugged the leak. But still, it's like the leftover is still there. The damage is still there. You know what I mean? It's like you get in a fucking car accident and like your car, you don't just drive it home, put it in your driveway and you're like, your car is still fucked up until you fix it. Right? So yeah, don't pay it outright. It's not going to remove it. It's only going to stop the leak. I don't want to talk about why you shouldn't dispute the whole balance. They can kiss my ass. They have to prove that balance, basically. So don't ever dispute the balance. Like, they have to prove, even if they're off by 1 cent, fucked. They're fucked, not you. You know what I mean? Like, if they say that you owe $300.07, but you really owe $300.06. It's not accurate. Looks like it's coming off. So it has to be accurate. So never dispute the balance, because all you're going to do is basically snitch on yourself. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to update that balance. And now what are you going to do? Now what are you going to do? So don't dispute the balance with a collection or charge off ever. Dispute the validity of the account itself and how it's being reporting and how it's connected to you, right? Don't dispute the balance. That's their job. If they're saying you owe that much, prove it. In multiple ways, prove it, right? So don't ever do that. Don't bring the attention to the balance. Let them figure that out, right? Yeah, you're basically putting all your eggs in one basket by disputing the balance immediately, because then where are you going to go from here? You can't. So don't do that. You just help them do their job against you. Don't ever include the balance. Only dispute the validity of the account in entirety. How it's being reported. How is it connected to you? What you need to do is not just go to the three main agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. You also need to include the original creditor. The original creditor is the source. Think of it as the source. They're the source, and all they did was supply the information to the credit agencies. The credit agencies are just reporting what they were told from the original creditor. So you want to send a letter to the original creditor. If they sent it to collections or charged it off, then there's going to be a middleman, which a lot of us look at it like the third-party debt collectors. You also may want to send a letter to them. Make sure that they can even collect legally in your state. A lot of times they're not even following their own rules to collect or to contact you. Like I said in one of my previous videos, send a letter to them as well. And then also send the letters to whatever agency it's being reported on. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. It might be on one, it might be on two, it might be on all three. Send a letter over there. Send a letter to the source as well. Those letters, if they respond to you at all, are more than likely going to conflict each other. And that's means for removal right then and there. So if you need help, you know where to find me.